In a future where robots can feel, dream, and even moan, the most terrifying question isn't what can AI do, but what have humans already done? Pluto is Naoki Urasawa's answer to that question, a sci-fi murder mystery that uses robots and detective drama to talk about war crimes, greeds, and the weight of hatred passed from one generation to the next. The same mind behind Monster take one of Osamu Tezuka's most iconic Astro Boy stories, the greatest robot on Earth, and transforms it into an 8-episode epic that feels less like an adaptation and more like haunting confession about what humanity does in the name of peace. In this video, the goal is not to recap Pluto, but to break it apart, to look at how Urasawa builds tension like in Monster, how he humanized machines more than humans, and why this series, white, slow, and deeply emotional, might be one of the most important anime about war and AI ever made. To understand Pluto, you have to go back to its roots. The story originally came from Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy of the greatest robot on Earth, where a super robot named Pluto hunts down the 7 strongest robots in the world. Naoki Urasawa takes that simple premise and stretches it into a full, seinen thriller, co-written with Takashi Nagasaki, where the question isn't just who is killing the world's greatest robots, but who benefits from the world that keeps creating stronger weapons. Published from 2003 to 2009, Pluto reimagines Tezuka's character, Atom, Uran, and Gesicht as psychological complex figures living in a post-war society that looks eerily close to our own. In 2023, the reinterpretation was adapted into an 8-episode anime on Netflix, with each episode running close to an hour, giving the story the slow, heavy pacing of live-action drama, rather than a typical fast-cut action anime. The result is something unique, a show that visually looks like sci-fi, uses the structure of detective stories, but emotionally feels like Urasawa's Monster, a long, painful investigation not just into a killer, but into the moral comparison of the entire world. On the surface, the world of Pluto looks peaceful. Humans and robots share cities, work side by side, and robots even have legal rights. But this harmony is built on a lie. The world is still haunted by recent war in the Central Asian kingdom of Persia, clearly mirroring the real-world conflicts in the Middle East. Robots are bound by strict laws. They cannot kill humans, they cannot disobey orders, and they are expected to serve society even if they are physically stronger and intellectually superior. In other words, they are citizens on paper, but tools in practice. The peace everyone enjoys is the direct result of devastating war, where the most advanced robots on the planet were used as living weapons. This war hangs over every scene, in the news report, in the trauma of veterans, and in the quiet gait of scientists and politicians who approved it. Urasawa doesn't hit you with expositions. Instead, the world reveals itself through tiny details, photographs on walls, conversations about past missions, and the way characters react when Persia is mentioned. This is the same storytelling style seen in Monster, a slow unveiling of society that would rather what it has done. The main protagonist of Pluto is Gesicht, a German robot detective working for Europol. On paper, he is the perfect investigator, rational, precise, and physically capable. But what makes him compelling is that he is also dangerously close to being human in all the wrong ways. Gesicht is designed to uphold the law and protect both humans and robots, yet he is investigating murders that points back to work, where he himself was used, where his own memories may have been altered or erased. His mind is both a tool and a crime scene. Robots in Pluto are not supposed to feel hatred. their emotions are controlled for safety. But as Gesicht gets closer to the truth and closer to the figure known as Pluto, the series confronts a terrifying possibility. What happens when a robot, designed to uphold justice, starts to feel an emotion that was legally removed from his programming? Urasawa uses Gesicht the same way he once used Dr. Tenma in Monster as a moral lens. Through him, we see the hypocrisy of civilized nations that weaponize technology, deny responsibility, and then expect those same weapons to live quietly with the memories of what they have done. One of the most powerful aspects of the Gesicht character is his domestic life. He has a robot wife, a home, routines, and quiet longing for something more. These scenes are calm on the surface but loaded with tragedy. You are watching a being who have everything except the right to fully define himself. If Gesicht represents the painful reality of being a weapon, with a coin-sized atom represents the impossible idea. Atom is Tezuka's Astro Boy for a new age, a robot with the intelligence and empathy to understand humans more deeply than they understand themselves. In Pluto, Atom isn't just a cheerful hero. He is a child who carries the weight of global politics on his shoulders, constantly asked to analyze, mediate, and forgive in a world shaped by war. He understands both the victims and the perpetrators. The level of empathy is blessing and a curse. His sister, Uran, offers another angle. She is a robot who can sense emotions more intuitively than anyone else. Through her, Pluto shows how children, whether human or robot, feel the emotional damage of a violent world even if they don't fully understand the politics behind it. Urasawa and the anime highlight these quite tender moments. Atom comforting others, Uran approaching broken characters without fear. These scenes echo one of Tezuka's oldest themes, that innocence can see through the adults, blinded by ideology and guilt, refuse to face. The title Pluto refers to both killer hunting down the world's greatest robots and the larger system that created him. Pluto is not evil in cartoonish sense. He is being shaped by other people's hatred, a living instrument of revenge. Behind Pluto stands another figure, Bora, a colossal weapon linked to the Persian conflict. Together, these entities embody the idea that weapons inherit the ideology of their creators. The robots are not the true monsters. They simply express the violence that humans encoded into them. This is where Pluto feels closest to Monster. Just as Johann in Monster is shaped by systems of abuse and war, Pluto and Bora are shaped by political decisions, scientific ambition, and the desire to control fear through greater force. The message is clear. When you build a weapon to end war, you are really building new forms of war. The anime adaptation leans into this with stock image towering machines in desolate landscapes, battlefields covered in debris, and quiet moments where these weapons question the purpose of their existence. These themes push the viewer to ask whether any society that relies on such power can truly call itself peaceful. At its core, Pluto is not just a story about robots and AI. It is a story about how nations remember war differently depending on whether they were victims, aggressors, or profiteers. The Persian conflict in the series is a stand-in for real-world war, where advanced technology was justified as necessary for security. In Pluto, the countries that participated in the war try to move on, but the consequences remain. Destroyed cities, traumatized survivors, and robots carrying memories that humans would rather erase. The theme of memory is everywhere. Some characters fight to keep painful truth alive, so history won't repeat itself. Others push for erasing or rewriting the past, sometimes literally by altering robot memories. The show forces us to see how easy it is to treat uncomfortable truth as a bug to be patched out of existence. This is where Urasawa's storytelling stands out. Instead of giving us a simple villain, he shows how entire system, governments, militaries, corporations collectively creates tragedies, then buries the evidence and blame the tools they used. Pluto quietly accused the viewers. If advanced AI become violent, will we blame the machine, or will we admit who trained it, who armed it, who gave it a target? When Netflix released the Pluto anime, the world was already deep into real debates about AI, automation, and what it means to let algorithms shape our lives. The timing made show feel less like a distant fantasy. The timing made the show feel less like a distant fantasy and more like a reflection. In Pluto, the robots are frightened not because they are emotionless, but because they are capable of feeling too much pain, too much loyalty, too much inherited hatred. The question is not, will AI become evil, but what kind of emotional and moral training will we give to the system we built? Urasawa doesn't offer any answers. Instead, he asks whether beings who were created as tools, whether robots in the stories are marginalized groups in real life, can ever truly be free in the world that only values them for their utility. Pluto is often introduced as from the creators of Monster, but that tagline doesn't capture how ambitious it really is. When Monster explodes the darkness inside individuals, Pluto widens the lens to show how entire nation manufacture their darkness, industrialize it, and then hide behind the excuses of progress. By combining Tezuka's original optimism with his own grounded psychological style, Naoki Urasawa creates a work that feels like a bridge between generations of storytelling, from Astro Boy's simple heroism to a modern, morally complex world where even the good guys are compromised. If you've already watched Pluto, hopefully this breakdown helped you to see just how carefully it is constructed, how every robot, every memory, and every casualty of the board fits into one long question: can we build a future that isn't secretly powered by our past violence? And if you haven't seen it yet, consider this is your invitation not to watch another action anime, but to sit with a story that asks you to look at AI, bored, and responsibility with uncomfortable honesty. Pluto isn't just about robots, it's about us.